remember, we're looking at structures in general. We've gone through our first type, maybe it's our first type and a half, because we did trusses, but we did both planar and we spent one day last period on space trusses, three-dimensional. That's the only, it's a fancy way to say 2D and 3D trusses. As you saw, the 3D ones get complicated as any of the 3D problems do, just by virtue of how difficult they are to draw and visualize and the like. So we're not going to spend any more time with that, specifically that type of thing. Now we're going to look at what are called frames. Remember the difference between the two? What?
Two force members and trusses and
Trusses are two force members only. Meaning we just simply pin them at the end. Even though that's not the reality of it. If you go look at any truss structure, just climb up in the attic of your garage or something, you'll see several trusses up there. Every joint is not just a simple pin joint. There's actually a plate over that that's probably been nailed in or probably glued and screwed, something in there to hold it, to stabilize that joint. So what we're doing are very conservative analyses. And frames. Get at least one 3/4 member. Lots of 2/4 members possible, but at least one 3/4 member. Now that could be, if we took into account its weight, could be just simply another load on it somewhere rather than at the ends. If it's at the ends, we can still count that as a 2/4 member, because any forces at the end we can combine into a single force at that end and a single force at the other end, still a 2/4 member. So we'll have several different types of examples, such as, let's start right off with one. We have a cantilever section. What that means is it's embedded in the wall. That automatically means it's not a 2/4 member, because there's the support reaction in terms of the forces there, and also the moment supplied there. So we use the term 2/4 and 3/4 members, but if there's a moment in the problem, in the member, it's no longer a 2/4 member. And then we've got another little piece that's attached to it with a simple pin. That end is roller supported, and the load on it is such that we've got a 10 kilonewton load there at 36.9 degrees. You're crying. Wait a second. Your angles can only be 15, 30, 45, 60, and 90. Maybe a 180, but what's this 30? But remember, these are just made up for fun. So I just thought it'd be really fun to have something different. So there we go. And then we have a uniform load distribution, something like that. Now, we haven't seen one of those before, but this is exactly what it would look like if we took the weight of that member into account. So maybe this first part was real light, but the second part's not light enough to ignore. So we put in what's called a uniform load distribution. And we'll talk more about those later when we get into them in real detail. But that's a load per meter length of the beam. So if I give you a couple lengths here, let's say that's 2 meters, 2 meters, and that's 2 meters. If that's a 2-meter section with a 4 kilonewton per meter load, then it's got an 8 kilonewton load on it. That total load is 8 kilonewtons. Other ways to do that, snow loads do that kind of thing, of course, and just stored materials. If you've got a lot of people expected in a room, you'd want that as a probably a distributed load, something like that. But they're very easy to handle, as I'll show you in a second. And you've actually done this type of thing before in vaguely similar circumstances. All right, so we do our usual business of free body diagram. Let's label the points just for reference. Now, typically, if we were doing the reactions for this, we have too many unknowns because we have 3 unknowns at the wall end, because there's the magnitude and direction of the support force and the magnitude of the moment supplied there, plus there's another reaction out here with 1 unknown. So that would be 4 unknowns if we look at the whole beam. But there's no big deal. We can take it apart and look at it in pieces. So we'll do our usual. We'll replace the loads. I guess we could turn that one around, just looking at the load that's on there. So we'll do that. So there's some support reaction at the wall, but including a moment because of the embedded nature of that support. And then, of course, we've got the load. And it's up to you whether you want to break it into components right there or not. Have to do it eventually anyway. And then some kind of reaction here at that pinned end. And maybe we can figure out something about it, maybe we can't, so I'll just keep them in the same order I did. So the only difference here to anything we've done before is that we have 3 or more forces on a single member. In this one we happen to have 4. The 2 end forces, the moment, and the intermediate load. How many unknowns on this part? 3? Anybody want to guess more? Chris, what do you guess?
1.
Yes, Chris is right. We don't know either of those. The B, either the 2 components or the magnitude and direction. It's the same thing either way. We don't know anything about the support A, and we don't know the moment M. So that's 5 unknowns. So no great sense in writing out the equations. We're not going to be able to solve this system. We have 5 unknowns, 3 equations. What do we do? What?
Solve for the BC part.
Yeah, we add on the other part because it connects the 2. Certainly does with the reaction at B. So we've got a single reaction like that at C. And what do I draw at B? If I've drawn this on this end, what do I draw on that end? Same thing or equal and opposite? Equal and opposite, because if this is what's being done to it, it does the opposite to the other one. So we have bx there, by there. Remember, I'm just guessing which way those go. It's not terrifically important that we waste any time on getting those right ahead of time. If we can, with a 2 or 3 seconds thought about it, it's worth it. But then other than that, it's not really worth it. Now, with this uniformly distributed load, you know that we're going to need to sum the forces, but we have 3 unknowns, so we're going to need to do something besides just sum the forces. We're going to have to sum the moments as well. And we can't sum the moments for a uniformly distributed load like that. We just don't, well, we can. It's an integral. We have to integrate the whole thing. But it turns out that it's the very same type of thing we do with other uniform bodies. For example, the Earth. We don't take the Earth as being little pieces of mass spread out over a planet-sized distance. We act as if everything is concentrated at a single point. And if you remember when we did Physics 1, we started with everything was a particle and treated like that without even talking about it. So we do the same thing here. We take out the uniformly distributed load and replace it with a single load that represents the same thing. It'll supply the same moment and the same forces. We'll work with that more in a little bit. This is very easy because this is a load that doesn't change as we go along. But there are other possibilities. We could have all kinds of loads on pieces that get greater and greater to one end. We're going to have to handle all those. But it's not going to be a big deal when we get there. You'll pick it up very, very quickly because you're the smartest students I've ever had. All right, so there we go. And that's on tape. Okay, what now? Is that a hand up?
Bx equals 0.
Yeah, well now we start solving it because this one we can do. We've got 3 unknowns. We've got 3 equations at our disposal. Once we know bx and by, we now only have 3 unknowns on this side and we can solve for it too. So you can tell by inspection, what'd you already give us?
Bx equals 0.
Yeah, you can tell already this one equals 0 because there's no other vertical component on that side, so it must be. Things getting simple. In fact, you don't have to do a big deal. You can do B, Y, and C without any great effort. C is what?
By plus 8 kilonewtons.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, you can come up with a value now. You can just look at it, and with your experience, you know that the 2 together must equal 8 kilonewtons. So clearly I've got one of them wrong. And by symmetry they must be equal. So they must be 4 kilonewtons each. And in fact I have By upside down. Which makes sense. If we didn't have the AB part of the beam there, then the B end of the little part would fall down, so it's got to be pushed back up. All right. So we can solve then the other part. It's up to you whether you want to turn this around now and make it 4 kilonewtons or leave it as minus 4 kilonewtons as drawn. It's 6 one, half dozen of another, I guess. Just be careful with it because you got to get it right. My preference is, once I know something, I like to fix it, especially if it means I don't have a negative sign in the problem. So I'll now put it in as correct, and I can even fix that one too. Which is, again, why I suggest you take notes in chalk. It's that easy to fix.
So it wouldn't, okay.
All right, now you can solve the other parts of that one. So take a couple seconds, chug through that end. I want to make sure you know how to do it, especially since there's a moment in there. Just to make sure you got it right. AX is pretty easy to come up with. You can come up with that almost by inspection, but that's just you summing the forces in the x direction in your head anyway. And it's that kind of thing that endears you guys to my heart as my favorite students ever. Alright, so just knock that one out. We need to find AX, AY, and M. Somebody should have said, oh, I'll do AX, and then taken the rest of the A off, because that's the easy one. Nobody did, so I get it. Busy, so nobody needs a head start. Nope, because you've got that, but you also have the moment, and that's going to change things too. Getting any numbers? Anybody having trouble with the summing the forces? Alright, I'll go ahead and put that one up while you work out the last part. So, pretty clear that AX equals sine 36.9. No? And that should be 6 kilonewtons. Right? That's what you got for AX? Okay, that was the easy one. That's why you should have volunteered to do that and then just sit with your feet up. Some of the forces in the Y direction, well, we just get the other part to it. AY up cosine 36.9 down and by down. So we can't solve that one. Two unknowns. That all right?
Don't we know
why.
BY?
I'm sorry, we do know.
I was
BY.
like, wait, that's not.
Oh, calm down. You know BY, maybe I didn't. All right, so we can get AY. What do you get on that one then?
12.
12 kilonewtons. How do we find, let's see, what are we missing then? We're missing the moment. So how do we find it? The moments must sum to 0, so we can do it that way. About which point? Doesn't matter. Maybe one's easier than another to choose, but it doesn't matter. So maybe about this point.
Force passes.
Takes that force out of it, leaves those two in, takes AX out of it because it goes through there. So we still have two forces. If we did this point, we'd still have that force and that force. If we did this point, we'd still have that force in it. So it doesn't really matter. Either way, we're going to have two forces in there. So the mathematics is not going to be simpler at any way. So we'll do the midpoint. We'll do it moments summed about the blue dot. Counterclockwise moments equal clockwise. Oh wait, what do we do about the fact this moment's over here, not here? Huh?
Doesn't matter either way.
Doesn't matter. Remember, a moment is a free vector. Forces are sliding vectors. So the moment applies on the whole piece. It's counterclockwise, so we'll go ahead and put it over there. And then both of the forces AY and BY supply moments in the other direction. So it's AY times 2, and we know AY, and BY, which we also know, even I know it now, times 2 as well. Each of the two forces is 2 meters from either end, so we can find then the moment. Practically do it in your head. AY, 2 times 12, 24, plus 12, 36. Is that right? How come that's not what I got there? Did I do it wrong in my head? 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2 times, not 6 times 4 is 8, so it's 34. Or 32. Kilonewton meters. Okay. If we use advanced mathematics, we get the right answer. So you break the thing into whatever pieces you need to solve it. Trouble?
Yeah. How come, I don't understand how you'd have a moment if they're supposed to sum to 0? Is it only the moment for the first, like, are you disregarding the
That's
second?
this. We're looking for the moment supplied by the embedded support at the wall. So that M there on the drawing is the same as this end here, the unknown that we were looking for. And it was counterclockwise, so I put it over here on the counterclockwise side. Those are both counterclockwise moments.
Do you not have to worry about the other connected part?
Sure, I have to worry about it, but I worried about it by having the connection in there. It's in there. That's what the B supports are. The B reactions are. That's the connection with the other piece.
Okay.
There's no additional moment due to that connection because it's a simple pin. If it wasn't, then you're right, we'd have more work to do. We'd have another moment there.
Okay.
But we couldn't solve that because that would be then statically indeterminate, and we couldn't solve that. We don't have enough pieces. Not yet. We will next term. All right, questions on that one? Before we ramp it up a little bit. Okay, another frame, which means just there's at least one 3/4 member, perhaps more. Okay, here's a wall with a horizontal beam coming out here with a simple pin support there. At midpoint, we have a beam that runs up to another simple pin support there. So that's 2.5 meters there. 2.5 meters there, and this is 2 meters. And that's not all. We still need a load on it. And so there's a pulley there. With a cable running over it. And then our load is on that. Kilogram load there, and 1/2 meter radius on the pulley. Pre-tested, ran this in my basement last night, worked great. So label the points A, B, call the center of the pulley C, I guess that's for center. D where that connects, E where that one connects. It's not crucial that the cable be pink, but it sure is nice because this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So just like the NFL, I can waste a lot of money on pink stuff instead of actually just giving it to cancer research. A little bit of commentary there. You'd like to slip that in occasionally. All right, there you go. And we want to find the reactions at E and A and the forces at C and B. Make sure those connections are strong enough. So find the reactions E and A, which is just our usual thing. Those are pin supports, so they We typically break those into horizontal and vertical components, no difference here. And forces at C and B as well. And we can do whatever it is we need to do to get there. Suggestions. You can find them in any order. We're going to have to find them all eventually. So any parts we can do, see how we're doing.
Start at C because that's where you have the known mass on it.
Start at C, the joint C. I just want to understand, we may need to do big pieces of it, we may need to break it apart. Well, let's do this. Let's at least see if we can determine what the reactions are. So we'll take the object, kind of sketch it out like that, because all we care about is the reactions at E and at A, and there's a load there. So it's not worrying about any of the internal parts. Maybe this will help, maybe it won't. So we have to pick some direction. Always put them both in the same direction. Not worried about being wrong. And what's the load there? 100 kilograms, right? No, of course not. Maybe we should worry about being wrong. What's the load? Load is forces or moments. Kilograms is,
980.
yeah, that's a mass. So, all right, can we solve that? Can we solve that? We can't come up with all four because we only have 3 equations on any of these planar problems. But we can get some of them.
You know that AX and EX are going to be equal magnitude opposite direction.
Okay, so yeah, clearly I drew one of them wrong because we have nothing but right-facing forces. And it looks like if the thing's pulling down like that, then EX had better pull back. So we can go ahead and do that. But can we find the magnitude? Yeah, see, nice taking notes in chalk. Can we find the magnitude of any of those? We can't find all of them because there's 4 unknowns. We only have 3 equations. Can we find any of the magnitudes? Yeah, shouldn't we be able to find EX and then AX by summing the moments about either A or E? So we can at least get a start on it. Once we find either one of them, we know the other one. So we can sum the moments about point A. We get, oh, it's actually pretty easy. We get EX times its moment arm, which is 2 meters, equal to the load at
5.5 degrees.
5.5 meters is the moment arm on that, isn't it? Because of the pulley, that's just a little bit of the pulley. Easy to miss that, so be careful. We get EX and thus AX equal to 2698, sound right? Okay, so good, we found two of them. The best we can do with the other directions is we just know that between the two of them, they've got to oppose the 981 newtons, but we can't do any better than that. So, what next? What next? Sit until I take over? Works. What next? It's Friday for me just as much as it is for you.
I don't think you can do any more with that part.
Yeah, we can't do any more with that part, so what next? What do we do? We do something else. We have to go to some smaller part of it, and there's not really, that I know of, any way to look at these and know specifically what to do next. You have to just keep going. You have to go into it until sooner or later you've got all the things you were looking for. We've got, we had 8 unknowns. We've got 2 of them done, so we still have 6 more to go. We better get busy. We can do the member EDB. We're going to have to. We're going to need the force at B anyway. We can do ABC. We're going to have to. We need the force anyway. We can do A, B, and C with or without the pulley. We have all kinds of choices. What do you feel like? ABC? All right, we'll do ABC. By popular demand, we'll do A, B, and C. Trouble with that, we do know AY, so at least we are bringing some known into it, so that's kind of a help. Let's see, we still don't know AY. We do know AX. Same way I drew them here. Remember, AX came out as positive, so we were right with that one. Is this the same? Do I draw them the same way, or do I draw them equal and opposite to this AX, AY? Yeah, it's still the same joint. That joint hasn't changed any. The parts that we're looking at's changed a little bit, but the joint hasn't changed at all. What do I do about B? I have this piece coming down at B. Well, like any other pinned joint, we typically break it into its 2 components, so will that work? Oh, wait, no. If B connects to a 2-force member, we'll know the direction. That's one less unknown. Is EDB a 2-force member? Either is or it isn't. Either is or it isn't.
I'm gonna say it's.
Trevor, Mr. Raptor, are you voting?
I said,
Is that what that was, or is it just, man, I have a headache?
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both? So what's your vote? We'll ignore your headache.
I don't think it's,
I mean, we care. But what's your vote?
I said no.
No, it's not a two-force member.
Yeah.
You say, no, it's not, or no, he's wrong.
I don't think it's a two-force.
2 votes for no, it's not a two-force member. And 3 abstentions.
I'm gonna say yes it is. I'm just gonna go against
He
it.
said no.
2
first.
2 yeses?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
He
don't
always-
do this. Don't do this.
Well, no, wait, what you can do is you can have me vote for you by proxy.
That's fair.
You just have to sign something saying, I accept whatever vote Professor Manning casts on my behalf.
I hope it's wrong.
I don't know if I trust
What's your vote?
that. I don't know.
No? You said no.
Yeah, I heard.
No, it's not a two-force member. There's force here, and a force here, like usual, and a force there. That's where the cable attaches. That's a 3-force member if I ever saw one, and I have seen them before. So there's that. So we still have 2 unknowns at B, and don't necessarily know anything about the directions, so we won't belabor it. We'll go ahead and put them in.
You do though, right?
Huh?
You kind of do though, right? Because up at E.
Yeah,
it's
but
going
it doesn't matter, because if we get a negative, we get a negative. It's easy to spend more time on trying to guess which way they go than it would be just to solve it and be done with them. What about C? What kind of force is at C now? Wrappy, aroundy type forces? Moment? Is there a moment there because of this pulley? Heck no, not with the bearings I get from Earl down at Ace. Give me no moment caused by those things.
Angels in my life.
Not me. I pour sand in my bearings right from the start. Work harder. Work harder than anybody else. What do I put at C? Pin connection to a pulley. What do we usually do with pin connections? We usually do this kind of thing. This is no different. It's just a pin connection. Something's yanking on the poor thing. It's yanking back. So we got to do something with that. Let's see if I have something already down. No. I'll just put them in some way. CY and CX. How many unknowns? Let's see. AY, we already know. AX, we know. So, we already know that one. BX, BY. We've got 5 unknowns. What do we do? Vote again? Because everybody knows physics is democracy.
You find the moment at A.
What?
Find the moment at A.
Well, we've got 5 unknowns, so we can do a little bit. If we sum the moments about A, we'll have 1 moment equation, but still with 2 unknowns in it, because every other force goes through A. So it cuts things down a bit, but we still have 1 equation, 2 unknowns. If we go and additionally do the moment about some other point, it just brings a y back into it, so we may have to do those, but maybe we can do a bit more some way else. And then maybe we can go do something else, and that eliminates some of the unknowns in that drawing, because we'll find them out in another drawing.
You could do EDB to find BXBY.
Yeah, we can do EDB. How many unknowns will it have? There's 2 reactions here, but we know one of them. There's 2 here. We don't know either one. What about the force there?
We can find that.
Yeah, assuming the tension in the line is the same area. So we could certainly do EDB. All right, I'm going to erase this one because we've done it. I'll leave that little part up there just to help us, because we are going to do a member now that's got. So we've got EDB. Which way did I have the forces? I think they were like that. Is that right for E? EY we don't know. EX we do know. Check mark by it. And B will be equal and opposite to those as drawn, so I'll go ahead and do that. Keep it straight until I know better. Is that okay? Is that how I had EX and EY in there originally on the part I just erased? And what else? The tension at D. And we know its direction because cables can only pull. Can we solve that one? Yeah, we sure can. That has 3 unknowns. No, that has 4 unknowns, doesn't it? That has 4 unknowns because we still don't know EY. Oh no, D we know. D we know. Of course we know that. That's the 981. Okay, sorry. So we got that. All right, so we have 3 unknowns and 3 equations. The sum of the forces in X and Y, and the moment about any point we so choose. Probably makes sense to sum the moments about B, because then EY is the only force left. So, why don't you go ahead with that a little bit. Forces in the X, let's see. EX plus 981 equals EX, which is 2698. Is that correct? The two right-facing forces equals the one left-facing force, and so we only have that one unknown. So we know BX now, which is good. Check it off. I don't know where I wrote it down. 17. Oh, there it is. 17. Okay, so a little bit done. Just keep going. That's all we can do. Obviously, EY equals BY. Don't even need to write that down. So I guess we can then sum the moments. About what point? Go on. Choose one. Doesn't matter. Any one you want. I guess B makes a little more sense just because, actually it doesn't, because there's one unknown in either one. It doesn't matter which one we do. I guess the smallest difference is we know the moment arm with D with respect to B. We don't know with respect to E. It's not a big deal, but it's just one less chance for something to goof up. We're not into that. So we'll go ahead and sum them about B. So we got EX. What's its moment arm? EX is a counterclockwise moment. What's its moment arm?
2 meters.
You know, it says 2 meters. Anybody agree, or somebody got something else? It's not this whole distance here? No. It's remember, the perpendicular distance to the line of action, which then is the 2 meters. So that's the only counterclockwise moment, and that must equal, wait, that must equal the clockwise moment, which is D, and its moment arm is
0.5 meters.
half a meter because of the pulley. Uh-oh. No unknown?
No, plus EY.
Yeah, don't forget, it's easy to miss that EY also has a moment. And it's in the same direction as D is with respect to B. So, there's the unknown in this equation. There's only one. Good, we can find it. And its moment arm is 2.5? 2.5? And so we can find then EY. And once we find EY, then we've got BY, because they're equal and opposite. What is that?
1962.
1962. Okay. Good, so we're making some progress. BY, that's positive, so we got BY in the right direction. We've got BX now. Do we have AY? We've got EY. Do we now have AY? Was that on the original drawing I erased? Yeah, because they were related by just the weight. AY plus EY equals 981. So now we've got AY, we just haven't written it down. What's it come out to be? Minus 981. So let me make sure the directions are the same as in my picture. Yep. So that should have been the other way around. So we're left with, let's see, we've got all of E, all of A, all of B, all we need is C. Right? And let's see if we can't make that even easier, because we could just solve this, not too terribly big a deal, but there's the pulley. Any forces on it? Yeah, it's got, well, it's got equal and opposite to whatever I drew here. So we'll put those in, CX and CY like that. Any other forces? Yeah, it's got the cable on it. So it's got that, which we know, 981. Any other forces on it? There's a force missing.
Is the,
D,
yeah, it's,
the other part of the cable.
The cable pulls that way as well. So what are CX and CY? All done. Bless you. All done. Perfect time. Yo. Oh wait, I went 4 minutes long. I owe you guys 4 minutes on